Welcome to the Pocket Size PR podcast, the podcast where pocket-sized portions of PR wisdom are distilled and applied to real-life situations by communications professionals. I'm really excited to have on the show Erica Marshall today. She's Group Director of Marketing and Business Engagement at the Education Training Collective. As ever, I'm your host, Charlotte Nichols from Harvey & Hugo. Erica, how do you define PR?
I think that defining PR it can be quite subjective. It can be a lot of different things to a lot of different people. But for me, it's about how the world sees you. It's about positioning. It's about reputation. And it's about clearing up messes sometimes.
Nice. Yeah, sometimes. And that can be a really tricky spot to be in. What do you see as the main difference between PR and marketing?
So I think they're like cousins. They're related. They work really nicely together. And sometimes they play lovely on a Sunday and other times they really don't like each other.
Love that.
For me, marketing is about pushing and selling a product, whereas PR is more about the communication, the personality, the tone of voice, all of those nice things that go around it. It's about creating loyalty and relationships, less around the doing and the actual result, if you like.
Oh, I love that analogy, the cousins thing. It's so true, isn't it?
And we've all got those cousin relationships.
Absolutely, yeah, we totally do. And you know, my children have those cousins dynamics that you observe more as an adult. But so true, likening that to PR, because like you say, it is all about relationships. And so, you know, families are clearly about relationships, and that loyalty word, I don't think that's being used yet, but that's so important.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So what other benefits does PR bring to the ETC?
Well, I think for the ETC, and if I go back 5 years ago, PR was all about good news stories for the ETC, because you would think as a group of colleges, we do good things for good people, we serve communities, and we basically act as an enabler so that people around us can access opportunities. That's the fundamental purpose of the colleges. So we had lots of good news stories to tell. What we didn't necessarily have was that corporate outward-facing sort of persona. There was no ability to connect the colleges with the expectations of the corporate world. So PR played the role of making us act more like a business, making us communicate more like the business and the employers that we wanted to work with. It elevated us through using award submissions and events. It lifted us so that we could connect more closely with our colleagues and our communities around us. So PR has moved for us as a group from just that simple telling of a good news story, but to that more broader reach and really connecting with what's going on around us.
I think that's really important to share, because I always bang on about this, how sometimes people just see PR as a press release, sharing good news, but it has such a wider function. And I love that kind of connecting, enabling, that building the persona, all so important. And I'd imagine that's all critical to your role in engagement.
Exactly. And I think if you want to, operate on the same level as employers, and education's no longer just about education. We work with employers to make sure that the education that we offer meets their needs and therefore puts people into longer living opportunities so that the jobs that they've got will last them. Mm-hmm. So for me, I think the role of PR is really important in that we've got to be on that same level playing field. We've got to be able to understand what makes employers tick so that we can work together to deliver those outcomes. I
think that's so important, because often historically education was about ticking boxes, did they leave with the right grade? Whereas you're forward thinking and, like a lot of educational establishments have to be these days, it's about that end result. Are the students leaving? Have they got jobs to go to? Are they continuing their education in the corporate world?
And do the jobs link to the courses that they came to do? So, it's great if somebody comes to us and then they leave and they go into a job, but really we want to make that job what they came to study in the first place. Does that match their aspirations, or to help them know that they can change their aspirations as well? You don't have to choose at 16 what you're going to be when you're 40. You can change and move around, and the more exposure that young people get to employers and employment in the world of work, the more awareness they have of the opportunities that are out there. Mm-hmm. Because, I don't think I would be here in this role had I have had a more fuller awareness of the roles that you could do. I didn't know what a quantity surveyor was. And I think had I have known, 25 years ago now what that was, I probably would have looked down that route. So I think for me, there's something around the role of PR that working together with careers guidance, with lifting and connecting the brands together, and that driving that awareness so that people can make informed choices, but that really do take them on a full career journey. And I don't think even 20 years ago I would have thought that PR would have had that sort of responsibility and that sort of clout, but it really does.
Absolutely. And I guess it has evolved over the years to meet those needs. But it goes back, totally agree with what you were saying about careers. You almost have to see it to be it.
Yeah.
And PR helps people see it, by working with the employers, it bridges that gap. You publicise what sort of jobs are available, if you do which course, and it just almost is like a matchmaker in that role.
Matchmaking is a really good way of describing it, because if you think about some of, our biggest employers in the Tees Valley, they've all got really strong brand reputations. We know what they do. It says on the tin. Without PR, we wouldn't know that. Mm-hmm. So then there's a role for that to play in the matchmaking process, in educating the educators as well, so that we're all telling the same story.
Absolutely. It makes sense. So in your opinion, should PR be something that's in-house or outsourced?
Oh, see, I was mulling this over last night, oddly enough, thinking that I think there's rationale for both. And I think if you've got in-house PR, so we have an amazing in-house PR officer, and she embodies what we are as an organisation, and you get to know that level of detail and that really responsive, reactive resource. Externally provides that more objective oversight. Externally may be able to say no, or that's not quite the right way to go about it. Mm-hmm. So I think there's a sort of a vote for external there. However, I think not enough organisations, when they bring an external PR agency in, they sort of, it's almost like a quick fix. Let's bring them in. We've got a PR consultancy. That's great. If you don't feed it, it's worthless to you as an organisation. So you can't bring them in and have your once a week meeting, once a month meeting, and expect all of the outcomes. If you don't have a designated connection within your organisation to your account manager, you might as well not bother.
Such a good point. Yeah, it happens a lot. And now almost when we're looking for clients or we're in that kind of pitching stage, we ask who would be our contact.
Yeah.
Do they have time they can dedicate to us? Can they sign off? Because so many times you're just caught waiting for decisions to be made, or you're not getting the information you need to pull a story together. But yeah, it is, that age-old debate. I can see the benefits of both. Obviously, I want to run an agency, so I want to scream out outsourced. But, you can't, when you're in-house, you really can get under the skin. You can be a lot more reactive sometimes. But yeah, like you say, outsourced, you have that more objective look, that kind of fresh pair of eyes. You sometimes can have better relationships with the journalists in certain areas if it's outside of the usual kind of scope. But yeah, it is interesting. And obviously we've worked together interestingly. It was we started out in our careers at the same time, and you kind of were that marketing role that coordinated the PR. So you kind of know what it takes.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think there's that in itself forms those relationships. I mean, we've been friends for a long, long time now. But I think that without having that designated contact to really help you do your job in meeting my objectives as a business, it just wouldn't work.
It definitely takes that understanding from both levels.
Yeah, definitely.
So is PR and marketing a glamorous role?
Nope.
That's a quick answer.
Actually, no. There's two schools of thought, isn't there? For every event that you go to, we've been to some lovely awards dues, and you get your nice dress and your hair's done. But the reality of that is that you've got a day job to do before you even get to that point. So getting ready is generally quite quick, and it's just let's go with the flow. But for every event that you go to, there is some person, some events assistant, some marketing manager, somebody in the background who is sweating cobs, pulling the whole event together, pouring the tea, putting the programmes around your desk, all of those different things. So it can be glamorous, but really it's hard work, and it's a vocation. You've got to be in it, and you've got to be committed, and you've got to be aware of those long hours and the crisis management and all of that side of things that comes up as well. So It can be glamorous. There are, I do have an element of my wardrobe that has nice dresses in it and things, but also somebody needs to make the tea.
Yeah, and it's often all the behind the scenes hard work that makes it look glamorous.
Yeah.
Ironically, well, like a lot of things in life, there's all the hard work that's hidden, and then it's kind of the end result that just makes it look seamless and easy. But yeah, I've been at those type of awards and events where literally I've been glued to my phone, almost trying to write press releases or making notes as it happens about the winners as they're unveiled, or trying to grab someone as they've walked off stage for a quote afterwards, or trying to do social media, photography, all while just trying to look cool and like you're having a nice time. And it is a bit of a juggle sometimes. Maybe that's part of the art of it.
There was one event that struck me, and it was a long time ago. And every time somebody was announced, I would see this guy approach the stage, drop down onto one knee, take the photo, then go back and start, tapping away on his phone. And it was every time somebody, and I just thought, you're not getting a chance to even enjoy this. No. But that's not really our role in those evenings. That's not our job to enjoy those. And I think I would judge it as a success if there's the buzz and the people go away afterwards and say that they've had a good time and they felt that it was glamorous. But for us lowly, PR marketing people, the glamour comes in a different way.
Totally. And then sometimes even if you're on a table and you have clients on that table, for yourself, I suppose you've got probably people from the education world and then also employers. You're kind of trying to coordinate the flow of conversation and make sure that everyone's kept happy. Yeah. And that, again, you can't relax doing that either. It's, so it might just look like you're having a nice time chatting, but you're working.
That's it. Somewhere in your subconscious behind, you're joining the dots and doing the work. You enjoy it because we wouldn't be here and we wouldn't be doing it if we weren't enjoying it.
Yeah.
But that's a different type of enjoyment, isn't it?
Absolutely. What was the favourite PR campaign that you've ever been involved in? What was your favourite PR campaign?
So it's not a campaign, but I think that through everything that I've done, it's never been about me. It's been about another organisation or another person. And I love building a profile of anything. And so if you've got a willing candidate, it just makes it so much easier and so much nicer. So if somebody, has come into the area and you start to profile them in a new role and lift them and get them invited to different things, that for me is one of my favourite things to do. I've worked on some fabulous events over the years. And again, it's that sort of, that ability to look like a swan and just gliding on the top, but your legs are going. That's the sort of thing that I thrive off. And I always say, when you panic about your deadlines or, if there's a crisis element going on or something, my whole mantra is, when has it not worked out? When is it not been okay? Because somehow that your legs going underneath and all the building blocks and all the toolkit that I've built up over the years, it all just comes into play and then delivers. So there's no one single favourite thing that I've enjoyed the most, but I have enjoyed my career to date because I've been given some really lovely projects or people to work with.
Definitely. And I totally take that on board. The more experienced I've got, the easier it is to problem solve when something goes wrong, and the faster, the more reactive you can be, because you rely on what's happened historically, how you changed it, and it builds that confidence.
Absolutely. And I think I would probably be one of the few people who would look back on the time of COVID and say that actually I enjoyed working through the comms of the COVID outbreak, the closure of the colleges, the opening of the colleges, the move into the online learning, then moving back into the classrooms, keeping staff informed, keeping students informed, keeping parents and carers informed. But that's what really sort of tests the measure of your mettle, isn't it?
Absolutely.
The ability to keep all of those things going and make sure that everybody knows what's going on, where they're supposed to be, and without detriment to what we're trying to achieve.
Oh, absolutely. And if there ever was a time when communications were critical, it was COVID. So well done for rising to that challenge. Speaking of challenges, what's the most challenging aspect of PR?
Sometimes I think managing expectations can be tricky. It's lovely when the kitchen gets a new toaster. It's really lovely, and it means that everybody gets nice, evenly coloured toast. But that doesn't make a great press release and story. It might be a very subtle social media post to acknowledge that the new toaster exists.
I'm laughing, but there'll have been occasions where we've had similar type stories. But yeah, well, not that we've done or followed through with them, but we've been requested. Yeah, you're totally right. We have. Yeah, quite often the first initial meeting, it is all about managing expectations from our side, particularly if someone isn't very, has no marketing experience. Perhaps it's just someone who's been running a business, and perhaps it's a business that's, not within the professional services. And it's quite often one of the requests is, I want to be on the red sofa on BBC Breakfast. And it's just like, whoa. And you know what? It is possible if they've got the right story and, it does take time still. But quite often it's not. And it's like, hang on, let's work on something that's more realistic. Let's think about your target audience. Where are they based? What sort of media do they consume?
And sitting on the sofa, that's an outcome. That's just an outcome.
You're right.
What are you seeking to achieve? What have you done that you think makes you worthy of sitting on that sofa? And then who do you want to connect with from that point? That's just another stepping stone, isn't it?
Totally. It's sometimes a battle of ego versus actual business objectives as well. And sometimes it has to be a delicate balance of how you achieve both of those, because at the end of the day, if the ego needs to be massaged of a CEO, the business owner, or whoever's in charge of the purse strings, that has to also be achieved through PR.
Yeah, it does. It really does. And I think the other thing to consider is maybe that although we feel like we've been doing this job for a long time, PR and communications and marketing, it's all still quite a new career, really. We've still got generations of people around us who think that communications is talking on the phone and that marketing is something that you do on a stall on a high street. I think that because of that, we've got a lot of sort of desktop experts.
True.
And because our job's not black and white, and a lot of it is based on what we've known and what we've built over the years, sometimes these desktop experts can have, like I say, managing expectations. They can expect us to behave in a certain way, but actually it won't deliver the outcomes. And it's that tailoring that back, because I couldn't go and deliver a maths lesson because I don't know how, I wouldn't know where to start. And I think there's something around that credibility of that longevity in the career to enable us to advise and guide.
Totally,
more.
yeah. And also you've touched on this, just people thinking that it's easier to achieve the outcome than it actually is. Sometimes, say we do get them sat on a TV show, they don't realise the work that's gone into that, or say the relationship that's gone on with that journalist over the years, as that journalist started out as a junior, but you still always met them for coffee, and as they've progressed in their career. So it is interesting. It's definitely a challenge.
And I suppose the other side of it is the fact that we're moving away from what used to be very traditional PR. The success would be that you'd had your piece published in the Gazette or the Northern Echo.
Yeah.
But those publications aren't managed in the same way anymore. So success now might look like an online story that's then shared on social media, that then gets shared via your own social media. And it's that understanding of all of those different pegs and different sort of tools that you use to convey the story, and success is just very different now.
Absolutely. In terms of kind of future trends, what do you think the future PR trends are?
I think we're going to move more to sort of short videos, snippets, attention spans. I remember when it used to be a 3-minute video was a really good thing to be doing.
Revolutionary.
And now it's 20 seconds, and you don't want to play the noise. It's the subtitles on the bottom, so you don't disturb anybody in your carriage. So you're reading, but you're watching. And I think as things progress, digital is going to become more. It's going to be about faster. It's going to be more accessible. And I'm really interested to see about the role that AI will play, because I don't think AI will ever replace comms and the role of PR, but I do think that there's scope for it to make things easier.
Definitely. And just that faster, the immediacy of it all, with like so many news stations now are 24/7, social media never stops. It's not almost about who's got the best, most beautifully crafted press release. It's about who's first to come back to you. And sometimes first trumps truth.
Yeah.
Just because you're first, it's deemed the most credible source. It's not often the case either, because to have something credible, you've had to do the fact checking, you've had to speak to people. So yeah, it's interesting times.
That worries me, fact checking. And the position that we're in at the minute,
Yes.
It's only in the last recent few weeks where headlines have been coming out about fact checking and making sure that misinformation gets stopped at the source. That does concern me, because I think we're about to embark on a really new era for PR as a whole.
Definitely, it's almost like it's become too out of control. So these kind of organisations are just like, we have to stop it, because we just can't say we're fact checking because it's too much. We can't police it. And with AI and everything, you do question just so, what is then going to be real?
Yeah.
So yes, it is tricky. So let's end on your top PR tip, Erica.
I think it's less of a tip and it's more about being. Authenticity and real and truth is what connects with an audience. If you're trying to sell the dream, but you can't back up what you're saying, if there's no evidence behind it, I can't go out and say we're the best college based on X, Y, and Z without having X, Y, and Z. That for me is the ultimate. It's authenticity, because people ultimately buy from people regardless of what you're selling. So as long as you're the truest, best version, most honest version of yourself, that's the way that you will connect with your audiences, whatever message it is that you're trying to convey.
Brilliant advice. Thanks for being a brilliant guest. Thanks, Erica.
Thank you.
Nobody can do business with you if they don't know about your business. But nobody will do business with you if your business's brand doesn't have trust and credibility. PR is the secret sauce in the marketing mix that can help achieve this and so much more. If you're interested in how PR can help your business, contact Harvey and Hugo, harveyandhugo.com, or email info@harveyandhugo.com.